Alabama fans, it's not rigged. You guys didn't get snubbed. No one's out to get you guys. You guys simply did not deserve to make the playoffs. And here's why. So we all know the final spot came down between SMU and Alabama. And as I'm looking at my notes, they both played ranked teams, and they both won against ranked teams, and they both lost against ranked teams. But here's the issue, right? SMU didn't have any bad losses. Alabama, you lost 2 games to 2 unranked teams. You lost to Vanderbilt, and you lost to Oklahoma. And here's where the strength of schedule plays into effect, and that's why it helped you guys. The strength of schedule was the reason why you guys were even considered in the first place, being 9-3. SMU was playing in their conference championship game. You guys were not. So for you guys to be 9-3 with 2 losses to 2 unranked teams shows you that you guys were considered. But the loss to Oklahoma is what did you guys in. And here's why. It's not because you lost the game off some last-minute field goal. They played a great game and it was some Cinderella-type win. No, you guys went over there and basically got blown out. It wasn't even a competitive game for the most part. And that's why. It's the way you guys lost. The real question is, how was Clemson the 12th seed team when they beat SMU in the ACC championship game? How does that make any sense? I don't understand that at all. And then when I look at Georgia, you got Notre Dame and Indiana. You play the winner out those 2 teams. That's a cakewalk to the championship game, which I guess I get it because in Georgia's defense, they are the 2 seed, and they played a really hard schedule. They had to play at Texas, at Alabama, at Ole Miss. So I give them credit for that because that's a gauntlet of a schedule. But then I look at Oregon, who's the 1 seed, and they got to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee, which I could argue are 2 way harder teams to face than Indiana and Notre Dame. So are we just trying to give Georgia a championship game? We trying to give them a ring? I don't get that at all. But for all my SEC fans out there, let me talk about your conference because I'm a big football fan. I played college football, and I believe the SEC has some of the best teams in the country and has always been one of the better conferences. But you guys act like from top to bottom, it's some type of gauntlet. And let's be honest, LSU wasn't as good as we thought they were going to be. A&M turned out to be an okay team. Good team, but not great. Florida wasn't that good. Arkansas wasn't that good. Vanderbilt wasn't that good. Oklahoma wasn't that good. Auburn wasn't that good. Kentucky wasn't good. And we all know about Mississippi State. They weren't good at all. So we talk about, we love doing hypotheticals, right? Well, if they were in this conference, they will boat roast this team. They'll go in there and they'll win the conference. But here's the thing. We don't go off hypotheticals in sports. We go off results. Alabama fans, if you guys don't want to go off hypotheticals, win against the unranked teams. It's not that hard. And that's the only reason why they didn't make the playoffs. Had they beaten Vanderbilt in Oklahoma, they probably would make the playoffs over SMU. But the fact is, they didn't take care of business. So don't blame the system, blame the coach and blame the players. So let's talk about the so-called gauntlet of the league, the SEC, right? Because we all seem to believe that from top to bottom, it's just some impossible conference to conquer that no one else can compete with them. I'm looking at A&M, right? They played Bowling Green State. They beat them 26-20, a MAC school, a school that wasn't even in the MAC championship game. So are we going to sit here and say hypothetically that Bowling Green can come in there and play every single good SEC team to the wire? Probably not. But, we love living in a hypothetical world saying, well, they join this conference, this will happen. Florida, you guys got blown out by Miami. I don't know what to tell you guys. Miami doesn't even have a defense. You have USC, who was average and really wasn't good at all this year. They beat an LSU team. I'm looking at Toledo beating Mississippi State. Come on now. That's a MAC school. And we all know Mississippi State had a really bad year. They're down the dump. It's a dumpster fire right now in that program. But it's still, you're the SEC team. You have the NIL. You have the money. You lost to a MAC school. I have Louisville. They blew out Kentucky, right? They blew Kentucky out. So is that to say that Louisville's can come in there and just beat all the SEC teams? Because guess what? Kentucky lost to Georgia by 1 touchdown. Kentucky beat Ole Miss. So are we going to sit here and say hypothetically that Louisville's going to go in there and just beat everybody? No. And then this may be controversial, but had the quarterback not fumbled and the refs held them out, Georgia Tech probably beats Georgia. And Georgia beat Georgia Tech in 8 overtimes. It took them 8 overtimes to beat a middle-of-the-road ACC team. So let's stop sitting here in the hypothetical world and we're going off results. Georgia beat Tech. That's a win. You know what I'm saying? Louisville beat Kentucky. That's a win. The same way here. Alabama, you lost to Vanderbilt. That's a loss. You lost to Oklahoma. That's a loss. SMU won all their games against unranked teams. You guys did not. And that's why they are not in the game. Look, The committee loves the SEC. They wanted to put Bama in there, but those two losses really hurt them. Honestly, maybe South Carolina should have been in consideration over Alabama. Who knows? Strength of schedule, right? Look at Indiana's schedule, but guess what? Indiana went out there and they played against all their unranked teams, and they won those games, and they're in a Power 4 conference. And the only game they lost this year was to Ohio State, who's a top 5 team at the time, top 10 team right now. That's a quality loss. What part do you guys not understand? And here's why I hate the strength of schedule argument, because you cannot control how good your conference is and who's on your schedule. Everyone can't be in the SEC. It's the Southeastern Conference for a reason. Now, I know we have conference rearrangements, realignments, all that stuff to try to make, more money and stuff like that. But you can't control that. You're in this conference. You play who you play. Maybe make better out-of-conference schedules to say you have a big-time out-of-conference win to cover that. But you can't sit here and blame somebody because they're in the SEC or they're in the Big 12. Well, that's the conference their school's in. What can they do about that? But yeah, I think that whole conference schedule, stricter schedule thing is kind of BS because you can't control who's in your conference. Like, you can't help that, I played at Pitt's in the ACC. That's the conference we're in. You can't control that. You play who you play. I think go off the out-of-conference schedule, maybe schedule more big-time games. But looking at Boise State, how do you guys feel about them being 3? Because I know they're in the Mountain West Conference and they don't play anyone remotely close to the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, or SEC. But they went toe-to-toe against Oregon and they lost that game by 3 points. So I think they really should have a shot. I think they should be at 3 because they lost to the number 1 team in the nation by 3 points. And they went out the rest of the season. They've won out, and they've won pretty dominantly. I mean, they've been pretty good all year long. Heisman candidate, running back. I think they have a shot. And honestly, SMU and Penn State, those are 2 winnable games for Boise State, to be honest. Looking at Arizona State, I don't know how to feel about that. They've been one of the most hottest team, well, not hottest team, but one of the more hotter teams, especially in the backstretch of the season. But them being 4, should Clemson be number 4 because they won their conference? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. But overall, I do like this playoff ranking. I like the playoff system. I'm excited to see the 12-man playoffs. Notre Dame at 7. I don't know how I feel about that because I know they did lose to NIU, which was a terrible loss, but they won out the rest of the games. But them not being in the conference, maybe they should be further back, maybe 9, 10, maybe even 11, because they're not playing in the conference championship, and they have a really bad loss to a MAC school, which these other schools do not. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about this 12-man playoffs? Me personally, I'm excited to see it. Drop a comment, subscribe, like, and let me know something.